that's that autumn wind. Shout out to the Raiders, man, we about to win.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. I got the latest Raiders news, rumors, and a fun show on tap here. So Derek Carr wants to go to Vegas. How many Chucky heads is this rumor? I'm going to give this one 4 Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. Derek Carr, he said it himself. He said, I'm not going to lie. It's exciting. And I think it's time for some fresh air. Now that we know that Derek was drafted in 2014, and he played his entire career in Oakland. So I got a question for everybody who's watching the show right now. Do you want Derek Carr to go to Vegas? I want you to type Y for yes, and I want you to type N for no. So the Raiders Report, we have a voice, and I need the nation to get up here and start talking about it, because I already see in the comments, this is what we're going to talk about basically the entire offseason. So do you want Carr to go to Vegas? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm seeing Andrew says yes. Noah says yes. I'm seeing a lot of yeses, but then also like Cesar, he's going to go with no. The Raiders Report is all about the interaction that we create. So I'm giving this one 4 Chucky heads because, like I said, Carr said it's exciting, and I think it's time for some fresh air. My only thing with that comment, I thought it was a little bit of a backhand to Oakland. I mean, I understand that Raider fans, guess what? You're going to get booed once in a while, Derek, when you don't play well. Or when you're not going to finish a game that we should have won. Sometimes the boo birds, they're going to come out. But I don't really like the comment because the way that he said it and in the interview, it seemed like a little bit of a backhand compliment to Oakland to me. A city that actually brought him in, a city that paid him, well, a lot of money. And just because the last few years of Derek's career haven't gone to plan, now you need some time for fresh air. I've backed Derek Carr the entire time I've realistically done this show. But I did not like the fact that he said he needed some fresh air. But I'll say this. If fresh air gives us better numbers than what we got in 2018, 2019, and maybe we can get back to 2016, 2015 form, I'm okay with it. But I'll also say this. You can't just point the finger at Derek Carr because when you look at 4,054 yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and if you're just going to look at stats over the last 2 years, you're looking at a small sample size. You're not looking at the entire picture. You're not looking at the fact that Derek realistically has not had, okay? He has not had a number 1 wide receiver, and the reason why I will continue to say, as long as he's in silver and black, he will be my quarterback. So, question for everyone. Do you believe in Derek Carr? Type 1 for yes, and type 2 for no. For those of you that are watching this on YouTube, you might get hit with an ad break. I'm going to make this the pinned comment on this video. So what I'm going to need you to do, scroll on down, and I want you, while this ad is playing, to comment on the pinned comment. Do you believe in Derek Carr? Type 1 for yes, and type 2 for no. Next rumor, Derek Carr will be a Raider in 2020. I told y'all this is what we're going to talk about, and as long as everyone is out there talking about it, it's going to be on the Raiders Report. So will Carr be a Raider in 2020? I'm going to give it 3 Chucky heads. I still think that it's pretty likely, but let me just say this. We are creeping into 2 Chucky head territory. That one's for sure. So this is the rumor. It's around Jon Gruden. It's about some of his comments around Derek Carr because there's a report that Carr's future with the team is uncertain. Now, Carr also said, we'll see when that time comes. But the thing that's a little bit alarming to me is Jon, he didn't really commit to Carr being the quarterback in 2020. One thing that Mike Mayock and Jon Gruden have basically done the last 2 years. They've stood strong behind Derek Carr, and they've stood strong behind him being the quarterback. With these new comments from Carr, with these new comments from Jon about them not committing to Derek in 2020 in Vegas, it's making me question whether or not he will be under center. Now, we'll get into a few other things, here in a little bit on the show, but Jon Gruden's last press conference, I think, is a little bit telling when you look at just his last, comment that he made around Derek. Like, he literally says, I'm not going to get into next year's scenarios. I'm just going to say that 7-9 is a step forward. Statistically, we took a step forward. We have to get a lot of guys healthy, and we have to have a lot of things look up and evaluate before we start making assumptions. Like, when I see certain quotes like that, I'm starting to wonder whether or not they are going to want Derek Carr back in Oakland. Now, you're going to see a lot of Chucky heads on today's show. You're going to see things like 1 Chucky head, 3 Chucky heads, 4 Chucky heads. This is my rumor explainer, so if this is the first time that you're watching the Raiders Report by Chat Sports, you understand what all these Chucky heads mean. So will Carr be a Raider in 2020? When I gave that one 3 Chucky heads, that's me telling you that I think it's pretty likely. It's not me saying that I do think he's going to be back and he's not going to be back. It's going to be that there's a report out there that he might not be, and that's me giving my spin. So here's the contract of Derek Carr. This is really what it's going to boil down to. In 2020, he's got a $5 million dead cap hit. If you want to move on from Derek Carr, you're going to have to eat $5 million. Some of you might say, hey, it's time to go. But in 2021 is the year that I personally would probably move on from Derek. I'm a believer that you might want to be able to give him another year, see what he's got. And 2021, if he's still not the answer, then yeah, you take $2.5 million cap hit. So I set a goal for the new year. I'm trying to get to 35K subscribers, and I need 433 by New Year's. If I sound a little bit sick, I'm sorry. I have been feeling under the weather. It's one of the reasons why I didn't do a show yesterday. So I'm trying to get to 433 new subscribers is what I need to get to 35K. And one of the reasons why I always tell people to subscribe, I know people from the Raiders, they watch this show, but we are the #1 most watched community because of the nation. So if you guys want Derek, or if you don't want Derek, subscribe, create your voice, let's get loud. Let's go now to my next rumor. No coaching changes in 2020. None whatsoever. I'm going to give this one 3 Chucky heads, and I'm thinking it's going to be pretty likely. I wish that it would probably be only 1 Chucky head, small shred of truth, because there is one coach that I kind of wish Jon Gruden, Mike Mayock, would kind of move on from. Now, Gruden came out and said that he plans to keep the staff intact. And he goes on to say that he understands, that some coaches, they're going to get some offers. And if a coach gets a better offer, like from a coordinator, then maybe they'll move on to a head coach. The only thing I would say to that, John, is I don't see Greg Olsen or Paul Guenther getting any other offers. I'm sorry, I don't. For me, though, I think it's time to move on from Paul Guenther. I mean, who else is ready to move on from Paul Guenther? Type me in the comment section if you're watching this live on YouTube. I've seen enough of Paul Guenther. I really, really have, okay? And I'm going to show you guys just how bad Guenther's defense has been the last 4 years. They have not been good. I mean, when you look at 2018, points per game, 32nd. Heck, back when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, 16th and 8th. And that's realistically when he actually inherited a pretty solid defense. This past year, I mean, turnovers. We're not getting it done in turnovers. We're not getting done in yards per game. Sure, the Raiders had a lot of injuries. But also, when you look, I mean, who just said it? Ruben Rivera, players look confused. That is exactly how I feel. The players look lost, and for how long have I been saying we need to find guys that fit the Paul Guenther system? I don't even know if at this point if Paul Guenther knows what the Paul Guenther system is. When you give up the amount of big plays that the Raiders do, ranked dead last in passes above 40 yards, passes of 20-plus yards, that to me means that players are lost. And when you go out and find a player like LaMarcus Joyner, and he looks as clueless as he does, I'm going to point my finger at Paul Guenther. Last point, our rookies were great. Maxx Crosby was great. I love what I got in Mullen, right? Jonathan Abrams special. We got some very, very good picks coming up, 5 in the top 100. I don't want Paul Guenther molding my rookies. I don't. Sorry. Now, I do want to give a special shout-out, though, to today's sponsor, BMW of Santa Maria Community Volkswagen. Good friends there, Matt and Rudy. If you are in the market for a car, I need you to text or call BMW of Santa Maria. The number is below. Ask for my guys. Now, I've had a lot of people say, Mitch, I don't know if I can afford a BMW. Well, luckily for you, they got Toyotas, they got Hondas, they got Jeeps, they got all sorts of cars on lot, and my guys are going to hook you up. But if you are in the market for a new BMW, this 2019 BMW 330i sedan is right now the best deal that they got. And if you want to get this offer, go to chatsports.com/BMW, because $399 a month lease for that car, I'll tell you what, that's a freaking awesome deal. That one's for Chucky heads, believe it, baby. Let's get now into some more rumors. This one's a little bit more about news, though. It's about Richie Incognito. If you would have told me beginning of last year that signing Richie Incognito to a long-term deal and having him in Las Vegas was a good idea, I probably would have been like, I don't know about that. Well, guess what? New year, new me. I'm giving it 1-4 Chucky heads. Believe it, baby. I think this is a very, very good move for the Raiders to re-sign Richie Incognito. For those of you that don't know, they gave him a 2-year, $14 million contract extension with $6.35 million guaranteed. I mean, I think we can all agree he was one of the Raiders' best offensive linemen this past year. But one thing that I absolutely love about Incognito, man, he brings the toughness. And if there is one thing that I know Gruden wants, and if there's one thing that I know Mike Mayock wants, and if there is something that I know that this Raiders offense needs, it's toughness. Toughness. And that's what Richie Incognito is going to bring. I think when you have the fact that we have Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, Colt Miller started to play a lot better, Trent Brown's proved that he's one of the best tackles in the league, and with Richie Incognito hitting it up the middle there, I'm telling you what, I'm seeing a lot of people. Daryl says, I love Richie. Richie Incognito's an all-pro. Incognito needs a new pick. That's for Chucky heads as well. But I like me some Incognito, and if you do too, start typing some yeses in the comments. Let's go to another player that the Raiders brought in this year in free agency. It was Tyrell Williams. And are the Raiders going to keep Tyrell Williams? I'm going to give this one 3 Chucky heads, and I think that it's pretty likely. A few weeks ago, I did a show because there was rumors around the Raiders potentially moving on from Tyrell Williams. There was a company called Heavy.com who, I don't really know who they are, but you know what? They produce content, good for them. They talked about how the Raiders could potentially cut Tyrell Williams because he's, as they said, one of the most overpaid wide receivers in the NFL. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, right? Now, if you move on from Tyrell Williams, you get $11.1 million. It's what it saves you. And I'll admit this. Tyrell Williams is not a number 1 wide receiver. He's not. But he is a solid number 2. So I want to show you this quote from Jon Gruden on Tyrell Williams and why I think that Williams will be in silver and black and will be headed to Vegas in 2020. We still think he's an excellent player. I watched him in camp, week 1 against Denver, when he was healthy, and he's a talented guy. But it's hard to play when your feet are on fire. His feet were hurting bad. And it's 100% true. So these are the numbers that Tyrell Williams finished with this year. He had 42 grabs, 651 yards, 6 touchdowns. He still kept pretty high yards per catch there at 15.5. But he also started the season off 5 straight games with a touchdown. He had 5 touchdowns after week 5. Tyrell Williams was off to a great start. I know y'all remember it. I know you do. And then when his feet started hurting him from the plantar fasciitis is when his numbers fell down. Plus all the other injuries that happened to our offensive line, plus all of our injuries that happened to our offense in general. That's why his numbers went down. So when I ask you this question, I don't want you to just to look at what we pay him. I don't want you to look at what other people put out there. I want you to use your eyes, and I want you to go back and watch the tape of Tyrell Williams those first 5 weeks. He was solid wide receiver. So what should the Raiders do with Tyrell Williams? My answer is K for keep. You're going to keep Tyrell. I don't think moving on from him is the right thing to do. If you're trying to add extra talent around Derek, getting rid of one of your wide receivers that when he was healthy was one of your best is not a smart thing to do. Now I see Power Plus says cut. Sure, you can cut him and save $11.1 million. But for the people out there that said he was one of the most highest or overpaid wide receivers, guess what? New wide receivers that when they enter free agency, they're going to get paid a lot of money. And after this year of free agency, Tyrell Williams won't be one of the highest paid wide receivers in free agency. Now, today's show brought to you by BMW of Santa Maria. Text or call my guys, Matt or Rudy, at the number below, 805-878-6160. If you're looking for more than just a BMW, Community Volkswagen of Santa Maria, they got Jeeps. They got all sorts of amazing deals there as well, Toyotas and Hondas. Go give them a call, 805-878-6160. Last rumor, and again, this is my man Maxx Crosby. I told y'all before the year even started, okay, that Maxx Crosby was probably going to be one of the best players the Raiders drafted. And Max, the offer is still on the table. When you come back home to Dallas, you are more than welcome to come on the show. But for Maxx Crosby for Defensive Rookie of the Year, the reason why I'm going to give this one only 1 Chucky head, I think it's a small shred of truth, is because he's not getting the recognition that he deserves. If it was up to me, Does Maxx Crosby deserve to be in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year? Yeah, that's for Chucky heads, absolutely. The man has had an unbelievable season. And I'll say this, and I think everyone would agree, he's been the steal of the draft. I am very, very comfortable saying that. But when I think about who he's up against for Defensive Rookie of the Year, it's Bosa, excuse me, Josh Allen. But I'll say this, like, when you look at the numbers, there is no reason why Maxx Crosby isn't up there with Nick Bosa and Josh Allen for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, in tackles, he's right there. Sacks, he's got more than Bosa. And then forced fumbles, he's got 4. But maybe my most favorite, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe my favorite statistic, since 1991, there have only been 7 rookies with at least 10 sacks and 4 forced fumbles in their rookie season. I'm going to tell you all of them right now. 2019, Maxx Crosby. 2006, Mark Anderson. 2003, maybe you've heard of him, Tyrell Suggs. He won Rookie of the Year that year. You'll notice the asterisk. That means that they won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Let's go now to 2002. Julius Peppers, maybe you've heard of him. Guess what? Won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Dwight Freeney, also a pretty good name. He didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's because Julius Peppers did. 1999, Javon Curse. Guess what? Another really talented player. Won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Mike Kroll. Guess what? Won Defensive Rookie of the Year. All I'm saying is Maxx Crosby definitely has the numbers to make him Defensive Rookie of the Year. Can he finally start getting some recognition? If you don't want to share this video for me, if you don't want to subscribe for me, subscribe for the players and start sharing our video so people can see what our guys are doing. So who should win NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year? And I want you to answer this honestly, okay? And I mean that. Like, I try to be as transparent with you guys as I possibly can. I try to tell you guys my opinion. But I want to know honestly who you want or who should win the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Like, I see people saying Max won't win, and I get it. But if you think Bosa should win, type Bosa. If you think Crosby should win, type Crosby. If you think Josh Allen should win, type Allen. All I'm saying is if I was a betting man, and you guys know that I am, I'm going to put my money on Bosa because of how good of the year the 49ers had, and Nick Bosa had an incredible year, right? I mean, you also look at quarterback hits, Bosa had the most. All I'm saying is, for anybody that's not putting Maxx Crosby in the discussion, is not watching the games, and they're just simply ignoring the fact that Maxx Crosby has had a very, very good season. Now, I want everyone right now to shout out your state. Where state are you watching from? If you're watching from another country, hey, throw that in the comments section as well. I know Raider Nation spreads far and wide, and it's one of my favorite things that I get to do on this show. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do in general is interact with y'all. So we got New York, Iowa, a lot of Californias, South Dakota, San Diego, Texas, baby, Killer Cali. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Shout out your states. Man, they are flowing in. St. Louis, somebody said Carr. California, Pennsylvania, shout out to you. Seeing some Texases, some Pennsylvanias, Cali, Voodoo King, what up, my man? North Carolina, I feel like that's the first one. Got in Nevada. Well, how about this? If anybody is in New Mexico, I'm flying out to New Mexico a little bit later on today, and I'm having a party with my guys in New Mexico. So if you know Sammy Alonso or Donnie Lefebvre, hopefully I got that name right, I'm going to be at the Ramada Plaza. The address is up there at 7 p.m. January 1st. If you're in New Mexico, you want to come hang out, have a beer or two with me. If I'm feeling better, let's get it together. I want to meet people that watch the show, so make sure that you guys subscribe to the Raiders Report by Chat Sports. The link is youtube.com/Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky heads, news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.